Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I want to talk about that law that's going to be taking effect this coming September. Um, no children at trans shows and no trannies around any kids' performances. I understand that there should be regulations and all this other stuff. There was some photos of people in New Zealand, I think, who were full-grown men walking around in thongs and dancing and doing, dancing in a thong in front of little kids and stuff, and it was pretty fucking disgusting. And that's not just me being a heterosexual, whatever. I think even other gay people could say that. There were some really not so pretty guys dancing around. And thought not that it changed anything if they were, sexy abs or whatever, but at the same time, it's not as much of an ugly eyesore, by comparison to the guys with the beer guts and the hair on their backs and all this stuff, making them look like these big giant fur balls, with furry patches on them. It was just woof. It was just really bad. So I understand the hey, let's regulate this. The part that I think is just downright dumb is when you've got nothing but a performance, and there's no sex. It's one thing to say nobody under 18 at the Rocky Horror Picture Show, okay, which was going on around that time in the 1990s, I think, when it started to revive, at least here in Texas. I mean, maybe even in late 80s, there was a Rocky Horror Picture Show gathering late at night, and it was usually like on a Friday night or something like that, and it was around midnight, and it was very discriminated. Well, not discriminated, but it was age restricted, and rightly so. There's actual sexual acts being performed in the thing, and there's, I think, even a dog attack and all this other crap. So yeah, there's killings and everything, to go with it. So of course it's going to be rated R, and of course it's only going to be, a late night, whatchamacallit. But when you've got somebody dressed in drag and he's not even doing anything sexual, then obviously the restriction, the regulation is just dumb, But what's worse is the demonizing of it all, the demonizing of it all, that it's going to corrupt your children, that it's going to make people change their minds, it's going to make people reject God and Antichrist and all this other crap. And, when I hear those things, I have to root for the people that are shunning it, because to me, it's a flashback to when I was a kid in the 80s and 90s. And I had to hear this kind of garbage just for listening to Ozzy Ozbourne. It's the heavy metal days all over again when I hear this demonizing trans reading school books, reading nursery rhymes, And don't get me wrong, teaching kids to dirty dance is bad. Yeah, that has to be excluded from the script, no doubt. But tranny dressing up as old Mother Hubbard or whatever, it only makes sense that it would be modernized to somebody like RuPaul looking. Not today. I mean, back when she was actually looking like a woman, you actually got confused her when you actually confused her for a woman. Those days, it only makes sense that it's modernized, rather than just some man talking like an old English woman and dressed up like old Mother Hubbard and all this crap. That's kind of corny these days, So to have an actual trans, well, that makes sense, But to demonize it and all this demonizing stuff, and that it's going to corrupt everybody and this and that, Dude, that's the 80s all over again. That's heavy metal all over again. You know, and then it went to more conservative areas where the viewpoints was it's all evil. It's all evil. Okay? It went into as far as the A-team is evil. The A-team promotes violence. You know, and if any of you actually watched the A-team back then, like myself, you know, you saw it as a kick just simply because you saw all these machine guns firing off, and nobody dies. You know, sometimes there weren't even bullet holes in structures. You knew that it was a fan, a high-powered fan, blowing things out of, you know, off of the surface of whatever it is that it's sitting on. You know, there was no, you know, what do you call them? The thing where the recoil explosions or whatever. There's no holes and all this other stuff, you know. And there was no blast points like the way you would see inside of a gel impact block, you know, that showed you the high impact inside of a ballistics gel block, you know. There was nothing shown like that. You just knew that it was a high-powered fan, maybe even a leaf blower, you know, that was blowing stuff off of a shelf or off of a, you know, a table, you know, while the sound effects of pow, 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 pow went on, you know, and the A-team comes in, you know, all badass and everything, you know, and in some cases they walked through the doorway where there was no destruction around the doorway. The door wasn't blasted off, the windows weren't blasted off, you know, so you kind of wondered, you know, the windows and doors were still intact, you know, and that's where you kind of caught on to the fact that it was just special effects. But those in the extreme conservative side were saying A-team, they were demonizing it. They were demonizing the show, saying the A-team does nothing but promote violence and everything. Now, for those of you who never saw the actual 1980s television show and only know it by the one movie, okay, so here's my question. Why aren't any of you out there, if you're so into morals and everything, why aren't you demonizing Liam Neeson and Bradley Cooper for bringing up the movie A-Team, you know, some 20 years later? You know, why aren't you, where's your call to action on those guys, you know, who did pretty much the same thing as the 1980s television show? You know, but you swore on a stack of Bibles that it was evil, you know. And I'll tell you why. To answer it, it's kind of a redundant question because the answer explains itself. These demonizing and accusations of corruption, their choice, they're selective demonizations. Everybody so far in this day and age that's claiming moral responsibility is selectively choosing something and selectively targeting that thing and ignoring everything else. And that's everybody that can take a step back and look at it can say, yeah, Chris, you're not telling us anything that we don't know. And that's true. But remember, my broadcastings are about common sense thinking on common sense ground, okay, on common ground ways of thought, okay? So I may not be saying anything new and inventive and all this other stuff, true, but what I'm still doing is pointing out the simple fact, the plain and simple truth, that this is really what it's all about, you know? So while here in Texas we've got this bill that's going to take place that's selectively choosing to demonize trannies in this particular case, you know, let's all remember that it is selective. It is choosing to demonize, you know, those people, these people, you know. And it's all being done by this worthless governor of ours that doesn't really do anything except make things worse, no matter what the subject. Immigration, water treaties now. I totally forgot that this country even had an international water treaty, agreement. It wasn't until he started putting those razor wired buoys into the damn river that crime had to be reported and exposed and all this good stuff. I didn't even know that it entailed, the Rio Grande, but it does. And this worthless douchebag of a leader violated it. And now he's trying to pull up these restrictions with trannies, same thing with the book bans. And I'm all for protecting the kids from indecency. There's nothing wrong with that. But to go as far as demonizing librarians, people that just are paid to organize the books in order, if there's such an uproar, well then why don't all the people that are having this uproar do the damn book reading and actually, report what it is about and report the incident? If there's guy on guy action, well, yeah, you need to remove it. Hell, even some certain even certain heterosexual stuff has to be removed from children's sections of the library. That only makes sense. That's the reason why there's a children's section. But to have it pull it out of a library itself, well, that's just downright stupid. And I'm thinking like William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, where there's sex, premarital sex, raids, street fights, and suicide at the end of it all. Well, yeah, it belongs in the adult section, and keep it in the adult section. Trannies these days reading books is just the modernized version of a dude dressed up as old Mother Hubbard with the English accent and the 5 o'clock shadow. That's what used to be going on now. Now they're actually a little bit more eye appealing. Sue them, but don't demonize them. Don't regulate them. I mean, regulate, but don't remove and do this whole bull crap that's going on with this whole hate, pleasing the people of hate. That's just dumb. And that's the moral of the story here. That's this is just a reminder. We as a society can actually think a lot more on common sense, and we can do it all on common grounds. This particular segment is just a little bit of reminder of that. All right. My boss is pulling up, so it's time for me to go. Y'all take care. Y'all take it easy. The time of this recording, it's Hump Day Wednesday, so y'all hang in there. The weekend's almost here. All right. Y'all take care. Take it easy. This is Chris Comments, signing out.